Good morning, the driver's seat of the truck. We've got the Z in tow. Today's gonna be an exciting day. We are headed to the dyno to get this thing tuned. And with only 3 days left until round 2 of Hot Pit, I'm definitely excited to see what this thing makes. But I'm also a little nervous because I know if anything happens, there is no time to fix it. So cross your fingers, let's get into it. We're down here at Hustler Race Engines in Chino, California. They have some super cool stuff here, so I'll be sure to show you some of that. But we're here with Ishmael. I'll put his Instagram right here. He's the guy who's going to be tuning it. He's tuned quite a few FD cars, as well as some friends' cars and other Hot Pit competitors. So he definitely knows what he's doing. And judging by the cars in this shop, I would say he's more than qualified to deal with my little kind of half-built LS. So let's get the car unloaded, get it strapped to his dyno, and start making some pulls. We've got the car hooked up to the dyno. Ish's in the driver's seat. He's got a laptop plugged in, and we are getting started. All right, so what are like the first things you look at when it comes to dynoing a car you've never seen before, never looked at?
Well, I want to make sure the configuration is correctly meeting injector size, the displacement of the engine, because the computer uses that to plot several things, assuming that you're telling the computer you're looking for this air fuel mixture, and it uses injector data and engine displacement to plot that. So what I'll do too is I'll turn off the closed loop, meaning that the ECU is not making corrections based off of the O2. So I like to find what the engine wants for fuel. And then what I'll do is also at the end of a run, I'll pull a spark plug, because sometimes the O2 will lie to you. I'll typically look at the portion, I'll look inside of it, and typically with a gasoline engine, I'll want to look inside the spark plug, and I want to see probably like about 100 thousandths gray line on the bottom of the porcelain. But as far as the initial stuff, when I'm first doing a calibration, I'll go through the sensors, make sure they're all reading correctly, and that's pretty much how I start off, with a calibration.
Okay, yeah, so what was the first thing you found so far?
Okay, so I noticed the idle wasn't really changing, and I can hear a hiss, so meaning it's coming from this guy. So what this is an idle control valve. So what this does is if I'm commanding 1,000 RPM and the engine is under, what this is going to do, it's going to allow more air to come in to compensate for the air loss, that we have, just to keep it at 1,000 idle. So I'm noticing no change in idle speed, but I can hear this hiss, and I'm commanding different idle speeds, and I don't see a change. So what we did is we popped the air cleaner off, and you see that little pinhole in there. That's actually a plug that's operated by this motor here. So what it is if I'm commanding a higher idle speed, it's gonna open this way and allow more air to bypass this, under the bottom of the manifold. So right now, it's not moving. So if I'm commanding a number, it's stationary. Thing we're gonna address, before we assume the idle control motor is bad, we're gonna check the wiring, make sure that that's pinned correctly. Okay, so we mentioned earlier, before we assume that our motor was bad because our idle control valve isn't moving, we're gonna check the pin out. So pin A on our idle control plug, it's supposed to be purple with blue. We have a purple with white. So looks like we have a missed pin, so we're going to correct that, plug it back in, and then we're going to check, make sure that our pintle is moving, and then our idle will be right. Okay, so we just got to depress this tab here. This guy comes right out. So basically pins A and C were flopped, so we just got to pull them out and turn them over, and it should be working. All right, now, so this should move the pintle forward. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna open it.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's working.
Nice. First pull, 414. Where are we at with that?
Okay, so here's the data log that we just did on our first run, and this is the way this car has been running for a little bit now. So because we don't have fuel pressure data, you know, I can only assume that we have a fuel pressure problem. So these are 42-pound injectors, and they should be able to support this power no problem. But you can see our injector duty is already well over 100%. You know, and our air fuel is, you know, within a tenth. We're targeting, you know, a 12.4. We have a 12.5. So that definitely tells. Well, the thing is, what this tells me is you have injector to support, but because I know that this injector will support this power, we have a fuel pressure problem. It could be a voltage issue, or we could have a restriction in the line, meaning there's a kink in the line, or there's a clogged fuel filter. So we need to start inspecting and see why our injector is maxed out.
Like you said, the injectors on this thing should be able to support this power and quite a bit more. But funny enough, Nate was here getting dyno tuned by the same guy and ran into a similar issue because the wiring to his fuel pump was too small of a gauge. And when you demand a lot of the fuel pump, the wiring was not able to keep up, and it was actually dropping voltage, which then drops the ability of the fuel pump to work. So we're gonna start there just because I know Nate had the same problem. And if that's an issue, I don't know how we'll fix that right now, but let's see. All right, as you saw in the last clip, the voltage to the fuel pump was good. So that means we don't have an issue with the wiring, and the wires that we have in place can handle the fuel pump. But that means we have a restriction somewhere else. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to command so much out of the fuel injector to get to this power level. So we're gonna put a mechanical fuel pressure gauge in line since I don't have a sensor, and then do another pull and see if the fuel pressure falls off. Once we confirm that, then we can start figuring out where.
Oh, we're sitting at 72?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happens.
Oh, there we go.
We gotta bring that down. Once we address the fuel pressure, we'll have to bring that down to about 60. All right, here we go. injectors are smaller than the ones that are programmed for sure. Pressure never dropped, so it's definitely an undersized injector for sure. So the injector was initially programmed for a 42 pound injector, or 41. I know this is not a 42 pound. Look at the size of those guys. That's more probably like a 24 or a 28 pound injector. So the injectors are definitely way too small for this power output.
Finally swapped over to actual 42 pound injectors. Seems to get everything working good. We had to do a few little things to get them to work because they've been sitting on the shelf here at this shop. Thankfully they had some. Now it's time for us to actually make some pulls and hopefully make some real power.
So we won't have room for the 100 shot in the future.
Oh, really?
So yeah, this is probably making 620-ish to probably 650 to the crank.
Really?
Yeah, with these 42 pound injectors on gasoline.
Yeah.
You know, with a brake specific fuel consumption of 0.5.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, whatever that meant to the audience there, huh? Right? Yeah. But yeah, we're at 85% duty, so that's a safe operable number for an injector, so it doesn't overheat.
Oh, I see.
85%.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything over, then it's starting to constantly be on. So the only thing that cools the injector is the fuel.
Right.
But because it sits in the manifold, it still heat soaks. So
okay.
You know.
Does that mean there's anything left on the table for today and the NA setup?
So as far as for the NA, like I said, this injector is gonna be maxed out in a safe level for this power band.
Okay.
So currently we're sitting at about 26 degrees of timing. I just bumped it up to 28.
Okay.
So we want to find where the engine makes peak power, and then once we've established that, then we'll knock it down so that this thing can rip for a long time.
Okay.
So the reason I do that is because I've ran into situations where the reluctor wheel is offsetted, and I've had reluctor wheels that are 10 degrees retarded. So if I'm commanding 20 degrees here, it's actually 10 degrees at the motor.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I run them. I'll run them out to find the ignition timing number at peak power.
Yeah.
And then at least I know that number, whether it's wrong or right here. At least I know that's where it makes peak, and I'll just knock down the timing just a little bit.
Makes sense.
Okay, so you can see those overlaid runs. So both, one of them is with 26 degrees of timing and the other one's with 28 degrees. So that pretty much tells us right there that the engine doesn't want any more timing. So 26 degrees of timing is where it makes peak power. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna manipulate that a little bit. We're gonna bring down the timing just a little bit to not keep it at peak pressure all the time, and that way it'll live for a very long time, and you won't encounter a ignition knock in the future, and you can run pump gas safely.
Makes sense.
The car's tuned. We got a clean bill of health, a good running car, and some solid numbers. Now, yes, 430 horsepower is nothing crazy, especially in the field I'm up against in hot pit. But I think it's respectable, and more importantly, I now am confident in the car. Ish went through way more than I thought he would and was really meticulous about pretty much everything. So now I'm way more confident in the car, that it's going to be reliable, that it's going to work well. And while 430 isn't anything crazy, I'm really happy with it, because let's not forget, that was kind of an unknown engine that I got off Facebook Marketplace. I put it together myself here in this garage. I've never even touched an LS prior to that. So for everything to come together and work well, I'm happy. I think it's a really good place to start, and now we can build on this through the rest of the season with bigger injectors, maybe switch the fuel to E85 or race gas, maybe throw some nitrous at it. At least now we have a good foundation to build on and a reliable car that I can grow as a driver in. To kind of touch on the injector thing, I didn't talk about it much in the video, but Google said the engine I bought came with 42-pound injectors, so I just assumed that was correct. My bad for trusting Google. I didn't verify what the injectors actually look like, mostly because I didn't even know what I was looking at, so why not just trust Google? As soon as we went through the test and he realized voltage was good, fuel pressure was good, he was like, pull the injector out. I guarantee you it looks like this. Sure enough, I pulled it out, and that's what he was showing in that little clip where it only had 2 little holes. So he was like, that's the wrong injector. They had some stock LS3 injectors sitting on the shelf that I was able to buy from them. Slapped them in, and it worked. As he said, we're kind of out of injector. I think with the big cam that I have and the intake manifold style, wants more air, more RPM, maybe more fuel. So like I said, there's room on the table for more, but again, he wanted to play it safe and give me an engine that he know would last, because again, we don't know how long that bottom end is going to last, and if we are leaning on it to the absolute max, it probably won't last for very long. So made the call, turn it down a little bit. Let's have a good, reliable car that will last me through the whole season, because I'll get way better results if I can drive every event in hot pit than if I just drive one with an extra 30, 40 horsepower. So we're not doing that, but what we are doing is showing up this weekend with a well-dialed, capable car. A lot more confidence from me as a driver in the car and in myself. That test day went a long ways. So I'm super excited. Huge thanks to Ish for tuning this thing and doing such a great job ruling out so many little issues and really just getting the setup dialed in. I am super happy with everything he did. And I can't wait for everything to come together this weekend. Hopefully we get some results, but you'll have to stay tuned to find out. If you're in the area, come out. Again, we'll be in Kern County Raceway. This video is actually going to release that day. So gates open at 2 p.m. Kern County Raceway in Bakersfield, California. If you're not there, check out the live stream. And if you can't do either of those things, make sure you're subscribed, because the next video will be about hot pit. Until then, thank you guys as always for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.